there we go. All right, YouTube is live. Excellent. Let me get Instagram. Second here, Instagram. La 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 la. There we go. Go, 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 go. Oops, a little loud on the mic probably. There we go. All right, Instagram doing its thing. All right, Substack. Bam. Oop, turn off my mic. All right, now I turn off my audio. There we go. All right, Substack is good. Looking good. And then TikTok, actually, I'll put on the comments. All right. Comments. All right, and then TikTok. And TikTok is already ready. Woo woo. Woo woo. All right. TikTok. 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 There we go. TikTok is ready. Woo woo. That's not so bad. 604. 604. Not too bad. Hello, everybody. Hello, TikTok. Hello, Edsel. Ah. Ooh la la. And it's gotten cloudy. I shut the curtains because well, it's kind of in between. Yeah, it's in between. I shut the curtains because we had too much sun coming in. Hey, Big Hawk. We had too much sun coming in, and now, of course, the sun's gone. So, you know. Anyway, hello, guys. Hello, Mary in Texas. Hello, Vernon. Oh, I'm tired. Although I think I'm tired because, again, I'm taking this back. I'm going to see my back thing tomorrow. Democrats are doing nothing because Democrats have no power. The voters, in their infinite wisdom, decided to give the Republicans control of the entire government. Republicans control the White House, the Supreme Court, pretty much the federal courts, and the U.S. Congress, including the House and the Senate. I agree with you. I get frustrated, but when I think about it, there's nothing the Democrats can do. We literally have one party running the entire country, so the Democrats can complain, but we can sue, which Democrats do. But that's about it. That's why Democrats don't do anything, because quite literally, the voters in their wisdom gave one party control of everything, and the one party went crazy. So that is the problem. Hello, Jennifer in Indiana. Josephus saying something in maybe German that I can't read. V. Gates. Oh, I can read V. Gates. I can read V. Gates. I do know what you said, actually. Hey, Josephus. I was going to say, I don't know German, but I know V. Gates, so I can read that at least. Anyway. Hey, Wojo. Over 100. Where are you, Flying Medic? I don't remember. Flying Medic saying it's 100 degrees, over 100 degrees somewhere. I don't recall where that is. Hello, Smurf. Anyway, oh my God. And since last night, I felt like I've got something in my eye, and it's driving me crazy. Oh, Arkansas, okay. I've been I've got to go to the store and buy some water spray for my eyes or whatever, contact solution or something, because it's been driving me bonkers. I've got to get some rinse or something. Beck is feeling a little better. I'm going to go into the doctor tomorrow. I'm sure she's going to say, muscle relaxants and physical therapy, eye drops have been recalled. Oh, that's nice. Yeah, YouTube. Well, the question with YouTube is typically it's bad for some people and not everybody. So let me know how YouTube is doing. We're back to using the real mic again for YouTube. Folks can let me know how it sounds. For the last couple of days, it's actually been okay for most people, but let's see what the YouTubers say. I know, more pills, so we'll see. But it's just the stupid muscle relaxants make me tired. And now, like I said, now I've got something in my eye that's driving me nuts since yesterday. I'm like, oh my God. No, I'll have to go buy some saline. I may even go buy tonight because it's driving me bonkers. And I took a shower and tried opening my eye, but it still just feels like something's in there. And maybe something's in there, or maybe my eye just got a little bit abrasive. Something is what I'm guessing, Driving me bonkers. A little quieter, but high quality. Okay. All right. The muscle relaxant is certainly making me tired. It's not making my eye scratchy, but it's making me tired, clearly. So I'll survive. It's just, like I said, it's making me very woozy, which I don't like. Ugh. What do you do? But it's making the back feel a little better. But like I said, in my eye, oh my God, I am a mess of stuff going on here. So, all right, let me get my notes. And also, let me just add, there isn't a ton of news today. There's news. We got news to talk about, but there isn't a ton of news, which is weird. Louder than yesterday. That's funny. It seems to be very hit or miss. Thank you, son, for the gifts on TikTok. YouTube seems to be very hit or miss with the sound for whatever reason. Like, it depends on the person, which is crazy. but it does. All right. Where are my notes? That's today's notes. Oh my God, I'm so tired. Oh my God. No, I don't. I've got sustain. That's not the issue. I need a spray. I need like a flood, like that I can wash my eye with. I have eye drops. They're expensive as hell. I don't need eye drops. I need like, I'm going to be using $8 worth of sustain if I use my sustain. Anyway, I'm going, like I said, I'll go to the store afterwards, I think. So anyway, good. Well, Discord's always good. Anyway, welcome guys. John Arvo says, oh, hello, Gothenburg. Exactly, saline. I'm going to go look for some saline. But anyway, welcome everybody. I am tired tonight, but I'll survive. John Arvo is here. We do have some news. Not a ton of news, but some news. Where is my, where I sent myself, it's doing it again. I sent myself, oh my God, today at 6:03, but it's the wrong notes. Did I send the wrong notes to myself? Maybe. Hold on, I'm trying to send myself my notes for tonight's show. I sent them to my nephew. That's nice. That was stupid. I'm looking at this going, why don't I have my notes? Because I sent them to my nephew. That's why I don't have my notes for the show. You can tell when I'm being like a little tired when goofy stuff like that starts happening. There we go. Now I've got my notes. All right. I opened them up and they were like yesterday's notes. I'm like, what's up with that? Was there a happy birthday for somebody? I don't know. Something's going on, Marco. I don't know what it is. I doubt it. I doubt it. Softly Blue. Happy birthday, Softly Blue. Anyway. Yeah, it could be the Flexerol. I don't know. I don't think so, but we'll see. Anyway, welcome everybody. All right, guys, I'm going to get rolling here. I am going to yawn at you tonight because, like I said, I'm on my muscle relaxants, and they're making me so freaking tired. I hate them. I know, I got to be cheery tonight for you. I don't want to be tired guy on the show. But muscle stuff, like muscle relaxants are just like, apparently they don't do it to everybody. My doctor told me, because I'm using Flexerol, which just, it works, but it knocks me out. And he was funny. He goes, my wife has the same problem, but I don't. Like my doctor, Flexerol's okay, whereas his wife just like, for me, it just makes me totally, I'll live. But it's like, oh my God. Anyway, so I just wanted to start mentioning horrific landslide in Tibet and Nepal tonight or today. The videos are insane online, absolutely insane. Basically, there was, what they think it was now, was a chunk of ice broke off a glacier. They think it was a 2,000-foot chunk of ice. That's almost half a mile, okay? So 2,000 feet is going to be, what would that be? A kilometer, I think, actually. 2,000 feet, I think, is a kilometer, okay, of ice. Breaks loose. It then falls 4,000 feet. 4,000 feet is almost a mile. It's 4/5 of a mile. So 4,000 feet, you're talking 2 kilometers, right? 2 kilometers, right? So this 2,000 foot wide chunk of ice drops off a glacier, off the top of a mountain, and falls 4,000 feet. Free fall. It then hits the bottom of the mountain and just explodes. Well, it of course picks up a bunch of dirt and stuff too, but the ice instantly melts. So it now is a massive amount of water with momentum because it's this thing that's been falling almost a mile. But imagine 2,000 feet across, half a mile across, and it's dropping a mile. Well, it clearly killed a lot of people. The videos are awful. I mean, the videos are just, you know, you're looking at this. The worst part of the videos is you see like the flood beginning in the river, and it starts to get worse, but it's not too bad. And then it just starts to expand. And you see people running, and the people are this big. They're like little ants. And you know these people are not going to make it. It's really, that's why I wouldn't show you guys tonight. It's way too, you can Google them. They're horrific. But jaw-dropping video of this because people didn't, and the worst part is people that were up above are seeing what's coming, and people down, like there's one video I was watching of construction workers, and the construction men have no idea what's going on. And there's guys like up above who are whistling and screaming. And the construction guys clearly aren't getting it. And all of a sudden, again, you've got maybe 10 different men whistling and screaming, and they look up. And finally, they figure out something's going, like they look behind and they see the river, and you see these guys start to run. I mean, literally, you couldn't make a horror movie that's this scary. They totally looked AI. This morning, I thought they were fake. Anyway, horrific. But yeah, so it's basically the chunk of ice that fell off the glacier. Just horrible stuff. Anyway, you can Google the videos. They're pretty bad. So Iran updates. The allies, our allies, are, according to Bloomberg, are saying that, well, here's a big surprise. It appears Donald Trump lied yesterday. So remember how yesterday, I'm getting like my tissue as I talk to you, or my Kleenex as I talk to you. Here, my little. So remember yesterday how Donald Trump claimed, oh, we've cleaned up all the mines. You know, breaking news. All the mines have now been cleaned up in the Strait of Hormuz. Everybody can transit it. He lied. He freaking lied. I mean, again, big freaking surprise. He lied. Well, the Europeans, our allies. We don't know if it's the Europeans. Our allies have kind of talked to Bloomberg and said that their own intelligence assessments show that a large number of mines still remain, and Trump lied. Now, what's so scary about this is Trump is telling commercial shipping to go ahead and start going through the Strait of Hormuz again when it's not safe for them to go through the Strait of Hormuz. I mean, people could have died. Commercial ships could have gotten blown up. And if commercial ships get blown up, nobody's going through the Strait of Hormuz after that. Again, you know, I know we know he does these kind of things, but it boggles my mind what a pathological liar he is. What just a horrible, horrible president, but horrible human being, that he would lie about the Strait of Hormuz being open, that he would lie about the United States has eliminated all of the Iranian mines, he says yesterday, which we knew he must have been lying. And now we know from the U.S. allies that he was lying. The mines are still there. At least some of the mines are still there, to the point where it's still dangerous. It's anyway. Mail in, actually, wait, let me see here. Another Iran story. NBC News is reporting that Iran inflicted billions of dollars of damage to U.S. intelligence sites across the Middle East. The point is that this war has been incredibly damaging to U.S. national security on multiple levels, and that's why you've got to be careful about getting into wars. It's not just costing us money. It's not just costing us the lives of at least 18 troops, and frankly, he's probably lying about that too, 18. It's going to be more than that. But he has destroyed U.S. military bases in the Middle East. He's destroyed U.S. intelligence assets, which means we're less capable of keeping track of what's going on in the region, which is not a good thing. Wall Street Journal. This was interesting. Wall Street Journal had a story about the path to war and how Trump decided to go to war in Iran. And it mentioned how Netanyahu in Israel, tried to goad him into going. But according to this, it wasn't just Netanyahu. Trump, talked to all of his aides, got their advice. Here's the interesting thing. First of all, the Pentagon gave Trump an entirely rosy view of all the bombs they could drop and all the impact it would have, right? So the Pentagon, we are reading now, screwed it up. And it wasn't just Hegseth, it was the top generals. They all ought to be fired. But it gets better. Remember how Trump kept saying, and again, he's a pathological liar and the worst president ever. But remember how Trump kept saying, oh, no one told me that Iran was going to blow up or, shut down the Strait of Hormuz. Nobody told me that Iran was going to attack our allies. Tulsi Gabbard did. Of all people, evil little Tulsi Gabbard had briefed Trump on every single aspect of this. Listen to this, Wall Street Journal. Tulsi Gabbard briefed Trump that killing Iran's leader would usher in a more hardline regime, more open to acquiring nuclear weapons. That's literally what happened. We killed the Ayatollah, his son took over, his son is more radical, and his son is now way more into developing nukes than the father was. It's literally what she told him, right? Tehran, she told him, our U.S. intelligence assessment was that Tehran would rush to shut down the Strait of Hormuz. Thank you, Liv, for the gift. Would shut down the Strait of Hormuz, destabilizing global energy markets. And Tehran would strike at U.S. forces and U.S. partners in the Middle East. Literally, the intelligence community, Tulsi Gabbard was the director of national intelligence, which is like the head of the whole intelligence community. She's a horrible human being. Trump appointed her as the head of intelligence, which is, again, incredible dereliction of duty, incredibly dangerous. People do not trust this woman for good reason, and he gave her run of the entire intelligence community. Bottom line is, the intelligence community briefed him and told him exactly what was going to happen, and it happened. He didn't believe them because the Pentagon said no. But again, Trump, as commander-in-chief, came out and lied to every single one of us and said, no one told me that Iran was going to shut down the Strait of Hormuz. Thank you, Blue, for the gifts. No one told me Iran was going to shut down the Strait of Hormuz. Tulsi Gabbard briefed him on the very fact that the intelligence community had determined Iran would shut down the Strait of Hormuz. I mean, it's like, again, he's a pathological liar. You cannot trust him. He is the worst president we have ever had. He's lying to us about this war, but we knew that anyway. He's lost this war, but we knew that anyway. But we just got to keep it in mind every time he says something that he's probably lying to us. Oh, man. It just blows my mind, right? Trump was ultimately swayed, more from the Wall Street Journal. Trump was ultimately swayed by the Pentagon. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, Joint Chiefs Chairman General Dan Kane, and Admiral Bradley Cooper, the head of the U.S. Central Command, briefed the president several times on plans to strike Iranian targets, including using missile launchers, radar, weapons production facilities, mine storage sites, and warships. The idea was to overpower the Islamic Republic and cripple its forces while Israel killed Iran's top leadership. Oops. Oops. Thanks, Watusi, except that I'm really tired today. Watusi's liking my delivery. My delivery is usually 5 times faster, but I'm on muscle relaxants for my back, and it's making me very tired. So I would say my tone is usually exactly like it is right now, but usually I talk a lot faster. So I will admit, I will cop to that. But my tone is normally like this anyway, so thank you. What else we got? Mail-in voting. So the mail-in voting, more happened today. It's very confusing. So the Supreme Court recently, we might as well go over this again. Trump is trying to kill mail-in voting in America, which is how you vote by mail. You send your ballot through the mail. Why is he trying to do it? 30% of voters cast ballots by mail in 2024, which I did not realize, which is quite a lot. 30% of voters voted by mail in 2024. Okay? That's the first thing. So a third of voters. Secondly, in the 2024 election, a Pew Research study found 44% of Democratic voters voted by mail or absentee, 26% of Republican voters. So 44% of Democrats, right? Thank you, son, for the gift. Vote by mail. 26% of Republicans. Not half, but almost half. That's why Trump is trying to kill it. He's trying to kill or make difficult the way of voting that Democrats use to vote. Again, everybody could have predicted that was why he was doing it. Trump keeps claiming, oh, mail-in voting is cheating and illegal and people, cheat. And there's no proof of that. There's literally no proof of that. Trump himself votes by mail every election. Literally, there's just no proof of that at all. He's lying. Big surprise. He's trying to kill mail-in voting because that's how Democrats vote. Again, January 6th, he tried to violently overthrow the government to overthrow an election. If he's willing to do that, he's willing to do lots of other shit. Right? Right? Bottom line. Anyway, what else we got? Texas judge. Oh, so this was interesting. A Texas judge today struck down Texas's ban on drag queens. So I didn't know they did this. I wasn't paying attention, I guess, or I heard it and forgot. Texas, the Republicans in Texas banned drag shows. At least they banned a number of drag shows. They banned drag shows in public. I don't know how many drag shows happen in public, but whatever. And they banned any drag show in private if somebody under 18 was there, because if a 17-year-old saw a drag queen doing comedy, they would be forever damaged. Now, they tried to define drag and said it was any kind of sexualized performance. Well, the judge said that basically it was a First Amendment violation, freedom of speech, that also said that it was too vague. The language was too vague, that it could shut down, other performances. The judge actually cited or mentioned Dolly Parton and mentioned her and said, Dolly Parton is sexualized. He even mentioned her boobs. He mentioned like her look, her hair, her boobs, but he's right? That's Dolly Parton. Dolly Parton's performances there's a sexual nature to Dolly Parton. There always was, right? And she was proud of it. And she worked it well. And the judge said Dolly Parton's performances could be shut down under this law because it's so vague. I would throw in, I mentioned during my TikTok video, that Shakespeare could be shut down. I was thinking of Shakespeare. There is so much raunchy sexual material in Shakespeare. It's not even funny. If you ever study Shakespeare, you learn this. I think my favorite, because I was in college at the time, English major, more or less, and I couldn't believe this was true, but it was true. One of the Shakespeare plays, actually, I'm going to pull this up. I'm going to actually pull this up. I'm going to pull this up so I can literally, hold on. So I can pull up the actual quote. Let me find this. Where is this? Hold on. Let me find this. There's a ton of stuff, though. Othello. So Othello, Act 1, Scene 1. The character Iago uses a crude phrase while speaking to Brabantio in the middle of the night to announce that his daughter has eloped. I want to find the actual... Come on. Here we go. Oh, I've got the actual thing. Okay. Here we go. So he's talking about the daughter, whatever, with this other guy. And he says, Iago says, I am one, sir, that comes to tell you your daughter and the Moor are now making the beast with two backs. Again, he's talking about the daughter and the Moor being together. They're dating and doing stuff. He says, I am here to tell you, sir, that your daughter and the Moor are now making the beast with two backs. The beast with two backs means, right? Because think about this. If people are having, right, like this, one back is on top, one back is on the bottom. They become one and they have two backs because you're now one with the other person and you're making the beast with two backs. This is literally Shakespeare. I mean, this is what blows my mind. It's from Othello. And Shakespeare makes a joke about boinking. And actually, it's kind of a wild... in college, I couldn't believe... I was in college going, oh my God, that's incredible. That's absolutely incredible. It is not, Brandon. It would be, I believe, what we call... Do we call missionary? I forget what it's called. But it's one person is lying on their back, one person goes on top. You are now one person and you have two backs. You have a back on top and a back on the bottom, so you are now a beast with two backs. That's what it is. No, blows my mind. But the idea was, now mind you, the idea was Shakespeare had to be appealing to everybody, so there was a lot of smart, educated stuff in there, but there was a lot of raunchy stuff for the masses, because they wanted the funny, goofy, sexual stuff for the regular people to enjoy it as well. Kind of wild. Yeah. Anyway, it blew my mind. So the point is, like, this Texas law could end up banning Shakespeare because Shakespeare's got a lot of sexual stuff in it too. In any case, so what, let me pull this up again. So what the judge ruled was basically the law went too far. banning drag queens and this kind of stuff. Actually, a drag queen could go to jail for a year if they had a performance, if they had a drag performance. I mean, it's ridiculous. These people, but also, what is wrong with these people? Like, what, like, I mean, and again, these are Republicans in Texas. They literally passed a law banning drag queens, basically. I mean, like, seriously? Not to mention, I mean, I'm sorry, but have you ever met a drag queen? It's not like they're dangerous. They're funny. Drag queens are funny. They're over the top, they're ridiculous, and they're funny. Like, it's just, I mean, I'm quite serious. I've gone to drag brunch. I've gone to drag shows. They're funny. I've met drag queens. They're just funny. And the idea, again, the Republicans don't want to focus on inflation. They don't want to focus on unemployment. They don't want to focus on the war. They want to focus on drag queens. They want to focus on trans women. They don't freaking care. Honestly, they don't care about the rest of us. Now, that's a good point, too. Tim Curry, I should have mentioned that. What Tulsi just mentioned, Tim Curry died today, too, unfortunately. Thank you, Dave, for the gift. Keep the gifts coming, guys. Tim Curry died today. Curry was Frankenfurter, the lead actor from Rocky Horror Picture Show. He was 80 years old, I believe. Very sad. About 11 years ago, he had like a debilitating stroke. He was like 69 and had a horrific stroke that basically put him in a wheelchair. So very sad. I mean, just very sad. You know, he was not doing well anyway. But kind of crazy, same age as Dolly. Kind of crazy, though, to think like Frankenfurter's 80. It's like, oh, God, we're all getting old. I mean, what do you do? That's how it happens. But like, oh, my God, you know? As a woman, you can't be a drag queen? It depends. It depends. I mean, yes, that's probably correct. The only thing is the drag is quite interesting. Watch the movie Paris is Burning sometime. A drag king, exactly. Yeah, but let's face it, we don't really do drag women, right? Watch the movie Paris is Burning sometime. It's really interesting. It's about drag in New York, like in the black community in New York, maybe the late 80s or early 90s or something. Blew my mind because I remember, I want to watch it again actually. The concept of drag was not just men dressing as women. It was, and this guy, this like young African-American kid was explaining it. And he was saying how he was, for example, they had like these drag shows. What did they call them that they would have in the black community? What they were called, were they balls or something? They called them something. I forget what they called them. They would have these affairs where they would have these drag contests. And it wasn't, but were they balls? I was thinking they were balls or something. They were balls, okay. And they weren't dressing up as women. These were guys, a lot of them clearly gay, but they were guys. And they were dressing, and they had like categories. And maybe one category was professional or something. And these guys came out. I remember one in his beautiful tailored suit, his briefcase, the hair was greased. He had the smart glasses. And this is some inner city black kid from the projects in New York, right? In high school. He's not rich. He doesn't have a good job. And he is doing the drag of a successful young businessman. And he was explaining how the balls were not about drag queens. They were about drag overall, which is dressing as something else. And the idea was, now mind you, this was a long time ago, but I believe the idea he was describing was that by simply changing your clothing, you could be someone else, right? You could literally be someone else. That you weren't just doing costumes to look like someone else. Cosplaying is a good way of putting it in a way. But the idea was not just cosplaying. The idea was this young African-American kid from the projects putting on the suit, putting on the smart glasses, greasing his hair, carrying the briefcase. He was a respectable young businessman working Wall Street. He looked like it. Right? That he literally became that thing. And at the same time, then it starts to make you think like the people you see on the street, right? If you saw him on the street, you would have known he was this wealthy, young African-American Wall Street kid, but he wasn't. Anyway, it blew my mind because it was so sort of philosophical, the concept behind it. was anyway very interesting. So you could do drag as a woman in a sense. Doing drag, you could be a man. Now I think it would be interesting actually. It'd be very interesting to see a woman who would do drag as a woman. Would be interesting. Like basically as a woman, dress over in the same way that guys do drag, and they dress over the top, almost like Dolly Parton, right? The Parton hair, the big wig, the makeup, the big boobs, the ballroom gown. You could have a woman who does that. We probably do, right? I mean, Dolly was almost drag. Well, Dolly was drag in the Paris is Burning sense. Yes, right? In the Paris is Burning sense, she was drag. But I think you could have a woman who does over-the-top drag as a woman, which would be kind of funny, right? Who's got like the sense of humor and the whatever. Dolly used to do drag shows. She won. That would be hilarious seeing her do drag shows. That would be hilarious. That would be completely hilarious. Yeah. Anyway, very interesting. Anyway, what else we got here? The Texas judge. Yeah, the Texas judge today declined to. Okay, Texas. Surprise, Texas. Republicans in Texas. There is one of the ICE agents accused of killing an immigrant negligently in Minnesota is in Texas. He's arrested. Alexa, lower the temperature 1 degree. He gets arrested, and the Minnesotan government asks Texas to extradite him to Minnesota. The Texas governor says no, because he's a Trump Republican and doesn't want to help Minnesota prosecute murderers. I mean, literally, he just said, no. He goes, I don't trust Minnesota. They're corrupt. Basically, the Republicans in Texas no longer stand for law and order. They no longer defend, they defend murderers at this point. Big surprise. So he just refused. Well, the time is running out where in a couple days, this guy's going to be set free if they don't extradite him to Minnesota. And the judge today in Texas refused to hold this guy pending the ongoing court stuff. So the guy's going to probably be released tomorrow, and he's going to probably disappear is the fear. Just going to disappear. Again, typical stuff with these guys. He's wanted for murder, and the Republicans go, he's wanted for murder for killing a Democrat in a Democratic state, we think, so we don't care about that. Very scary stuff. Trump on Dolly Parton today. I was going to grab the video on this, and I didn't. I listened to it. Trump is on Glenn Beck's show, and he's talking about Dolly Parton as only Donald Trump can do, right? Trump goes on Dolly Parton. She really liked me. I will tell you. She really liked me. I will tell you. Trump had to make Dolly's death about himself and you know what? There's probably a 0% chance that Dolly Parton liked Donald Trump. Dolly Parton was probably nice to Donald Trump, especially before he was president. I doubt Dolly Parton liked Donald Trump. But also, somebody dies, and imagine anybody in your life dying, and you're talking to somebody about it, and you go, she really liked me. No, a normal human being who isn't brain damaged would say, I really liked her, right? I had some great times with her, whatever, right? But you wouldn't be like, oh yeah, she just died, she liked me. Like, it's creepy. Of course it's creepy, right? It's Natalie Parton. It's just typical with him, right? The Good Liars. So these guys had a good video too today. I didn't want to grab it because YouTube gets upset at the video thing sometimes. But The Good Liars are this little comedy team, but they're partisan lefties. I used to say progressive, but progressive doesn't mean what it did anymore, so I have no idea what's progressive anymore. But they're Democrats, whatever. And they go and they interview people. And they just go to like Trump events and they interview people. And it's really funny because they'll just put a microphone in front of people and watch them say dumb things. Well, they get these two women who are wearing these Donald Trump outfits, the hat, the T-shirt with Trump's face this big on it, whatever. And he goes, and I forget why, somehow he mentions vaccines to them somehow. And I think they may be talking measles or something. And the one woman says, I'm totally against vaccines. Absolutely, 100%. Every single one of them, they're poison, she says. He responds, what about the polio vaccine? And she goes, there hasn't been a case of polio in how many years? Since 1960? He goes, since the vaccine. She goes, yeah. I mean, do you get it? It was, the video is fabulous. Literally, she goes, vaccines are all bad. They don't work. They're dangerous. They're poison. He goes, what about polio? She goes, there hasn't been a case of polio since 1960. Like, stop bringing up polio. He goes, since the vaccine. She goes, yeah. But also, these guys, to be so freaking smart. That's what they were talking AID cuts. That was it. You're right. They were talking USAID cuts, and she thought, what did she think they were talking about? I'm forgetting. It was some domestic thing she thought. I can't remember what it was. What was it she thought AID was? And he said, no, it's international programs like vaccines and voter ID. There you go. Thank you, Dave. Thank you, Mel. Yep, voter ID, she thought he said. He said USAID. She goes, I want voter ID. And he went, no, USAID, the international programs to help poor people like vaccines. And she goes, oh, I hate vaccines. But I love that. There hasn't been a case of polio since 1960. Yeah, that's correct. There really hasn't been. But also, these guys I've always been, I think I'm not dumb, but to be that smart that they're able to interview these people and just boom, 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 boom. Like even when she said since 1960, I don't know that I would have been quick enough to go, yeah, since the vaccine. Like they're just so damn good. It blows my mind. It just blows my mind, some of these guys that are that quick. Like, again, that Adam Mockler is this way. Harry Sisson is this way, too. Some of the younger guys, they're just like, well, they're comedians, but they're more than comedians. They're politically very smart. Rosie O'Donnell, I've still got to get Rosie back on the show. I tried to reach out to her person, but her person, I think, isn't her person anymore. Actually, you know what? Remind me. Actually, hold on. I've got a friend who... Let me ask my friend here. Hold on. Okay. First, comma, we need to get together, period. Second, comma, do you know who Rosie's current handler is, question mark? I had messaged the person who it used to be, but I don't think that's it anymore. And I wanted to have her back on my show after this many years. She was amazing when I had her on years ago on my podcast, as you can imagine. All right. There we go. Messaging a friend of mine. Because I had Kathy, you're hosting. Well, and Kathy, I did reach out to Kathy's person, but I'm not sure if Kathy's person is still Kathy's person. Because they didn't get back to me, but I've got to try again. But Rosie O'Donnell is so freaking smart. No, you cannot imagine how freaking smart Rosie O'Donnell is. When I had her on my podcast, first, she's hilarious, so that you will be laughing for an hour talking to Rosie. She has a mind like a freaking vice. She remembers things. It's hard to explain people like this where, and again, I think Adam Mockler and Harry Sisson are this way too, where they are just boom, 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 boom. And she goes, well, back in 1997, back in 1998, Donald Trump did this and this and this. And she's giving you all these details and you're like, and she goes, and remember what he did on welfare. Remember what he did on USAID. He cut this and this. And she's just like, oh my God. I mean, this woman's level of knowledge of politics and detail puts me to shame. I mean, I'm good. I do this stuff for a living. Like, this is what I do is politics. She puts me to shame. This isn't even what she does for a living. And I would swear to God, I think she knows more than I mean, I may know more about political strategy, maybe, but I think she knows more about the details of the political history by far than I do. Scary Encyclopedia Rosie. Yeah, no, but it really is though. She was probably was Rosie O'Donnell. Probably was the most fascinating person I've ever interviewed because she just was so freaking smart. David Pakman's very smart. Dan Savage, I will say, Dan Savage, I got to get Dan back on too. Dan had me in hysteria. Dan, I got to be careful though, because Dan, I don't know if I'd have Dan on TikTok. Is Dan on TikTok? I don't think I could have Dan on TikTok. I don't think so. Dan, you never know what I love Dan. Dan's a friend. But you never know what Dan's going to say. And like, he's on TikTok. I'd be very afraid of having Dan on because Dan anything comes out of his mouth and you're talking and all of a sudden you're like, oh God, You know, we had to drive once to Virginia. We had a retreat. We were going political retreat. We were going to in Virginia, and we had to drive like for 3 or 4 hours together from D.C., which was great fun. I mean, with Dan Savage in the car, but he just starts like we were talking, and he just thank you, Addie, for the gift. I forgot what it was. He just like Dan will just segue into talking sex. And mention something about sex or something about his boyfriend and sex or his husband. And I remember at one point I was like, Dan, stop. I said, I don't talk about these kind of things with my friends. I said, you're freaking me out. Like, it's like talking to Dr. Ruth when you talk to Dan. Like, great conversation. In general, Dan's a wonderful guy. But like, occasionally those sex conversations come out and you're going, oh God. You know, like I just don't have those conversations with friends. Anyway, Dan cracks me up. He's a wonderful guy. I love Dan. Again, like so many people who don't live nearby who I wish did. You know, I would love to see Dan. I haven't seen him in years. Anyway, Rosie's saying, "Oh, Danny boy, oh, Donnie boy" on Kimmel's. Oh, that's funny. Oh, Donnie boy, that's funny. That's funny. What else we've got here? Just a couple more stories Ukraine-related. Hungary officially labeled Russia a threat today and backed Ukraine's sovereignty. That's good because Hungary, as you know, has been now a normal government was elected there. Thank you, JPT, for the gift. And ex-Ukrainian Foreign Minister Kuleba may become Ukraine's next ambassador to the U.S., which would be very cool. So that would be very good. Otherwise, you know, Russia's making more threats. I don't care. I really don't. I don't know that we still got a clear answer as to what the CIA director was doing. Oops, that's right. I got to turn this way. As to what the CIA director was doing in Moscow yesterday. I saw some reports, but they were kind of all over the place, to be honest. So oops. All right, we're going to see if that falls. I'm trying to edge my iPad like slowly over so the angle's good, but usually this is when it flies on its face. So if you take a flying pitch iPad, it's my fault. iPod, yeah, maybe not. Anyway. Yeah, no, the Russians are, you know the Russians. Exactly, Gunther. Anyway, all right, what else, guys? So that's it for the news. This is now when we hang and talk about whatever you want. And I'm adjusting my video so at least I'm in the middle of the screen for YouTube's vertical thing. So it's not out of the way. So that's good. Yeah, I definitely have to go and get my eye washed to see if I can help my eye. It's driving me nuts. Anyway, it's been a crazy week. I know we lost Tim Curry. We lost Dolly Parton. I'm not going to tell you the joke that's been going around. I don't want to get in trouble. Yeah, the Russians just threaten. That's all they do. I mean, you know, again, evil government, dangerous government, but at the same time, Russia cannot afford to go to war with all of us. They can't. Right? They can't. Because Tim Curry was 80 and Dolly Parton was 80. So there was a joke going around about that and threes. But I would never make such a joke because I wouldn't want to get in trouble. But anyway, visit could be NATO related. Who knows? I mean, who knows? You know, nobody knows. I mean, you know. I mean, I saw one report claiming that maybe he was there to tell the Russians, you know, you better not use nukes in Ukraine and you better not attack NATO like they're talking about doing at the Brits. But, you know, I have a hard time believing Trump's going to send somebody to say that. You know? I mean, you know. Anyway, so who knows? Who knows? They are losing their war. I mean, they're losing their war, but as I said before, you know, Ukraine is winning slowly, and that's the problem. This war isn't going to end for years, and it's doing incredible damage to Ukraine. The Russians are losing right now, which is better than the Russians winning, but they're not losing enough that Ukraine can end the war like that. It's not. I think this is still a quagmire. It's a quagmire that the Russians are losing, but it's still Vietnam, right? Where the Russians can't get out or the Ukrainians can't get out. That's my concern, you know? So So I very much admit the Russians are losing, but it's still a quagmire for everybody involved, and that's bad. Good that's a quagmire for Russia. Obviously don't shed any tears as far as that goes. That's for sure, But anyway, oops. Oh, shoot, it didn't. Yep. What else? Are the North Koreans there? Where? In where? Canada released counter tariffs today. I think they did. I think there were more tariffs today, again, from Canada. Pretty sure there were. Yeah. Yep. The Canadians need to hit, in Ukraine. I don't know if the North Koreans ever entered Ukraine or whether they've been fighting on the Russian side. I don't recall. A part of me wants to think they didn't enter Ukraine, although now I'm wondering whether they're in the eastern provinces or not. I don't know. Good. Targeting the red states, that's good. Good. No, they've got to. Again, there's only so much Canada can do, unfortunately. But let me see this. Canada tariffs. Let's see. Canada tariffs. All right. Oops, where is this? News today. Let's see. Canadians stand their ground. This is the Canadians. Okay, you're driving me nuts with this. Stop it. God damn. The frickin' New York Times is driving me crazy. It keeps doing this. We see you're using multiple devices. It does this to me every day. I've been using multiple devices for years that I've been using, you lunatics. What is wrong with you? But it makes me confirm I'm the real person. Like every freaking time I try to look at one of my stories, I'm like, oh my God, stop it. I mean, first of all, just use a cookie. How have you not known this is me every time? So anyway, so now I've got to wait for this to download. La, la, la. Oh my God. Anyway, I was trying to look at the story, which I do subscribe to the damn New York Times, so 330-209. All right, fine. You losers. This is me. Get out of here. Although that should have been. Jeez Louise, you're annoying. Dear God, come on. All right. Canadians responded to President Trump's first round of tariffs a year and a half ago. We don't care. That was a year and a half ago. No, this is a stupid article. Of course, after all that, it's a dumb article. It's one of those articles where it's like, a year and a half ago, and you're like, I wanted the news. I'm not going to pull this up now. This is just pissing me off at this point. Just pissing me off. Yeah, they're doing unlimited share, which is nice. Yeah. So, self-share, I can't self-share because I can't see the article in order to share the article. Think about it. Unless I'm crazy, right? I've got to pull up the article to share the article. I'm finding it on Google, and I've got to go to the article and read it to push the share button, and it won't let me read the article. So tariff starts September 8th. Yep. Feel free to be mad at Americans. We voted for the guy. We voted for him. Please, But yeah, wood. I didn't think of the wood. Is the wood thing going to affect toilet paper? The Canadian wood thing we're doing. Well, we is the majority of the voters. That's what I'm saying. Like we voted for. We're a democracy. We voted for him. We deserve everything we get as a result. It's a free country. The country picked him twice. Everything that happens, we do it, that as a result of that is we brought it on ourselves. Other than Hassan Piker kind of bullshit. We don't go there. That's what I said, the wood pulp stuff. That's what I was wondering about. That'll affect toilet paper? I didn't think of that. That's interesting. Huh. Yeah. No, good. Hope it's painful. Alexa, lower the temperature 1 degree. You know? Oh, I know it's affecting the world. Obviously, again, I don't want the man there, but what do? You know? I mean, yep. Very true. Sorry, Roxanne mentioned a point about Ukraine. Ukraine shows us that Russia isn't as great a military as Trump and his administration tried to make them out to be. True. Russia is paying people from other countries to fight on the front lines. True. Never forget that Ukraine gave up its nuclear weapons and NATO promised to defend them if Russia attacked them. True. It was actually the US and the Brits and a little bit of the French, I think, who promised to defend them. And we really didn't, really, which was very annoying. But yes, indeed, that is correct. That is correct. Ah, oh la 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 la. Budapest Memorandum, exactly. Exactly. Wood pulp will affect toilet paper. Oh, well. I mean, I don't want to pay more, but, you know. But they need to make sure they, all right, I'm going to look again. They need to make sure they hit the farmers. Like I said, the potash, absolutely. Let's see here. Oh, yeah. U.S. faces surging toilet paper prices amid trade war. That's funny. That's funny. Using the bathroom or having a cry is about to become more expensive. This is from The Guardian. For North Americans as the U.S. and Canada enter a full-fledged trade war that threatens to flush away decades of peaceful trading between the two nations. Canadians unveiled a list of nearly 900 American goods that will face 25 to 50% tariffs starting September 8th. Paper products are among the hardest hit. Canada threatening to put tariffs of between 25% and 50% on toilet paper or face tissue stock. Though American toilet paper and tissues are often made domestically, they heavily rely on lumber-rich Canada for raw materials. Ooh. Procter & Gamble said last year that it would have to increase prices amid tariffs that were in place at the time. Interesting. The U.S. accounts for more than 20% of global tissue consumption, despite having 4% of the world's population. That's funny. That's funny. Interesting. All right. All right. Well, good. Good. A 25% tariff on Canadian cars and auto parts is set to affect the American auto industry, which relies heavily on Canadian parts for manufacturing. Trump has threatened to double the tariff to 50% if a deal isn't done by January 1st. So he's going to massively increase the price of every car in America if the Canadians don't. I love when he does this shit. If the Canadians don't blink, Trump is going to increase the price of cars for all of us. What a surprise. What a surprise. Oh, well. Oh, well. Anyway. Good. But, you know, good. Exactly. Use bamboo. Exactly. Man. Yeah, well, they're threatening electricity, oil, maybe natural gas. I don't remember if that was included there as well. Exports, which I think they do a lot to the border states. I remember Northeast. I remember Northern Midwest, and maybe Northwest as well. But I remember seeing, when we were talking about this stuff months ago, seeing that those states were involved. So, yeah, crazy. Yeah. Oh, well. Oh, well. Export tax they were talking about. Yeah. Yeah. Well, they should. They absolutely should. No, Trump wants, I mean, again, we can hurt the Canadians more than they can hurt us, but they can still hurt specific industries and specific states. And the Canadians need to go nuts on them if they can. I think, especially the fertilizer stuff, hit the farmers hard. Oh, well, you know. But also, the Canadians ought to, I mean, I wish the world would get together, like the EU and the Canadians and, like I said, Asia, whatever, and get together and just form some larger pact and just say, you know, you go against them, we're all going to raise tariffs together. But they can't because Canada's not a member of the EU, but still. You know. The border states are blue, but not all of them. A lot of them are, though. Not all of them, though. You know, Ukraine's nukes. Ukraine gave them up in 1994 at the urging of the United States and Britain so that they could make peace with Russia, and Russia would promise never to attack. That's what happened to Ukraine's nukes. Yeah, it's true. North Dakota, right? Well, that was the question. I remember we had this discussion before as to whether Canada could officially be part of the EU. Like, I don't know though. I thought that was cute, but I don't think so. Let me ask ChatGPT, see if, because I know it came up before, but I thought that was a no-no. I've asked you this before, but I don't remember the answer. Can Canada become a member of the European Union?
No, Canada can join the European Union. The EU is a political and economic union specifically designed for European countries. Geographically and politically, Canada is firmly outside that scope.
Even the fact that Canada is part of the Commonwealth.
Exactly.
Why?
Although Canada is part of the G7, NATO, and has strong ties with European countries, the EU is
No. You didn't listen to me. Hey. I said Canada is part of the Commonwealth.
I see what you mean. Yes, Canada is part of the Commonwealth, but that's a completely separate grouping of countries, most of which were former territories of the British Empire. The Commonwealth doesn't have any connection to EU.
I mean, their head of state is, well, Britain's not a member of the EU anyway. Ha ha ha. Right? Even if we tried to make a British tie, Britain pulled out. Wait, ChatGPT is getting kind of chatty lately, isn't it? That's true. Brexit. It doesn't matter that they were British, even if they were, right? No, this was something I think we looked at for Eurovision. Like Eurovision, they're allowed to, and I forget why, but for some reason for Eurovision, they're allowed to be members. They're allowed to be in the contest. You know? But anyway. So, yes, I don't think so. I don't think Canada can. I don't think they can do that. You know, the U.S. did promise to protect Ukraine if they got attacked. Yes, that's the Budapest Memorandum, 1994. Correct. Well, Israel's there, but is Australia too? I believe in Eurovision. Not just Israel. I forget how Israel gets to be there. How does Israel get to be there? I looked it up at one point. I'm forgetting how. I don't quite recall. I don't quite recall but I don't quite recall. It was some larger, right, European something thing. Tell me again about how Israel and I guess maybe Australia are allowed to be in the Eurovision Song Contest.
Australia got in because they've had a long-standing relationship with Eurovision and were invited for the 60th anniversary as a special guest. People loved it, so they've been invited back ever since.
What other countries that are not in Europe are part of Eurovision?
Besides Israel and Australia, a few others have been part of the Eurovision family. For example, countries in the Caucasus, like Armenia, Azerbaijan, and Georgia participate. Even Morocco competed once. The key is membership in the European Broadcasting Union, not geography. But Australia remains the most far-flung regular guest, and each year everyone waits to see if any other surprises pop up.
Okay, that's interesting. Yeah, that was it. Yeah, European Broadcasting Union. I remember there was something, yeah. Yep, broadcasting rights. That's interesting. Very interesting. I am not a soon EU citizen. I am an EU citizen. JTA. I am soon a European passport holder, but I became a European citizen on May 11th. Haha. I probably can't vote though. Well, I can vote in the European Parliament elections. I think I won't be able to vote in the Greek parliamentary elections, which is very annoying. But what do you do? but I'll have to figure out how to register, at least for the European Parliament elections. So, Armenia just applied to join the EU. Probably too early for them, I would think. That's good, though. I'm a little surprised because Armenia had like an evil government for a while there. You know? You know? So, anyway. What else? Oof, Alexa, lower the temperature 1 degree. It's definitely getting a little, it's muggy. It's a little muggy today, unfortunately.
I've lowered the living room by 1 degree.
Thank you. Anyway. There's a French territory between Newfoundland and what's PEI? Prince Edward Island, maybe? There's a French territory in Canada? Huh. That's interesting. Huh. I didn't know that. I did not know that. Yeah, Prince Edward, that's what I figured, yeah. Huh. Saint Pierre, that's funny. In Quebec, but it's France. It's a part of France? That's funny. That's just crazy. Huh. Oh, that's bizarre. Okay, I did not know that. Saint Pierre, let me pull this up. That's totally weird. Let me look this up here. 1 second here. Oh, my Google Maps is, ugh, I hate that. Let me look again. They speak French. 2 islands that are still French. That's funny. Let me pull this place. I pull up my Google Maps. Come on, Google Maps. Download. Yes, I'm familiar with what Quebec is, Joshua. Correct. Francophone, but not French. That I know. I may be American, but I'm not that stupid. So, St. Pierre, though I've never, okay, this is driving me bonkers. Google Maps is taking forever. Enough of Google Maps. St. Pierre and Miquelon is the main population administrator of the French Overseas Collective of St. Pierre and Miquelon in the northwestern Atlantic. Wait, come on. Oops. How fascinating. Oh, that's crazy. That's crazy. It's a French territory. What do you call the Outre-mer or whatever it's called? The French territories abroad. It's one of those French territories abroad, basically, or what? That's crazy. That's insane. That's weird. Yeah, I don't know what the hell that means. No idea. Wow. I've never heard of this place. An archipelago of 8 islands, officially the territorial collectivity of Saint Pierre and Miquelon, French, Collectivité territoriale de Saint-Pierre et Miquelon. Self-governing territorial overseas collectivity of France. What the hell does that mean? Self-governing territorial overseas collectivity. What the fuck? Located off Canadian Newfoundland, Saint Pierre is an archipelago of 8 islands. It has an estimated population of 5,500. Residents are French citizens. They elect their own deputy to the National Assembly. Get out of here. It's an overseas country and territory of the European Union, although not an integral part of it. What does that mean? It's neither part of, interesting. It is neither part of the Schengen area nor of the European customs territory. Oh, that's interesting. But the euro is the official currency. Get out of here. Its inhabitants have European Union citizenship. That is crazy. I never knew that. Huh. That is crazy. Wow. Okay, I never had heard of that. That's insane. That's completely insane. Wow. Huh. Yeah, I'd never had heard of that ever. Wow, very interesting. Gives France fishing rights? Oh, that's interesting. Yeah. Huh. Wow. Yeah, like Guam or Puerto Rico, where they get some rights and not others, or but they're citizens, but they can't, whatever it is. Well, Guam is even no. Guam was Guam the one that was actually much fewer rights? I'm trying to remember. We talked about this the other day. Remember? That's very interesting. I never knew that. Huh. Always blows my mind when you find out about these, like when I learned about Kaliningrad, the Russians having like territory in Europe. Exactly. Marshall Islands. Yeah, exactly. France should move nukes there just to be safe. Exactly. Very interesting. Very interesting. Huh. Thank you, JPT. All right. Very interesting. All right. Oh, boy. Thank you for the UFO, Andy. Oh, God. Oh, help me. Oh, I'm tired. Very tired. Puerto Rico? No, but Puerto Rico wasn't the one. It was somebody other than Puerto Rico who had very limited rights. Remember? I think it was Guam. That had very limited rights because they wanted it that way. And we're like, yeah, sure, they wanted it that way. Sure. It wasn't Puerto Rico. I think it was Guam. It was definitely out in the Pacific, the one we were talking about. It could have been American Samoa, maybe. Let me see. It was out in the Pacific, though. Let's see. What is the U.S. territory out in the Pacific? Is it American Samoa or Guam that has the very limited rights? Where, like, I think they're not Americans, but they have a passport. Like, it's really weird. Which territory is it?
That's American Samoa. Okay. People born there are U.S. nationals, not citizens. So they can hold U.S. passports, but don't automatically have the full rights of citizens. For example, they can't vote in federal elections unless they move to a state and naturalize. Guam, by contrast, is home to U.S. citizens at birth.
Interesting. Okay, that's still so. You see, you guys are right. It was Samoa. No, Puerto Rico. I don't think so. No, no. Puerto Rico's different. Puerto Ricans are American citizens, but they don't vote in congressional elections unless they move to the mainland. But Puerto Ricans, for example, are American citizens, right? They're not just U.S. nationals.
Citizenship, like voting in federal elections if they live in a state, and they don't need to naturalize. Puerto Rico's just as American as any state.
Yeah. No, that's the thing. Puerto Ricans are American. It's still weird that American Samoa works that way. That's crazy. That's just crazy. Like, I've never even heard of the concept of they're American nationals, but they're not American citizens. That's funny. That would be funny. So I'm doing my live show right now, and somebody in the audience said, I never ask you if you have any questions for me.
Well, that's a fun twist. I'd be curious, what's one topic your audience really wants more of from you? I bet they have opinions.
Don't know. We'll have to see what they say.
Exactly. It could be a fun little moment of engagement.
But what about you? You don't have any questions for me? It's twofold. It's what I think people are into, but generally speaking, it's what I think is the most important news of the day.
That makes a lot of sense. Balancing what matters with what resonates is a great approach. I'm sure your audience appreciates that mix.
Any other questions?
I'm good for now. But hey, if I ever think of a burning question, I'll ask. In the meantime, enjoy the show and keep that connection with your audience going.
All right. Don't creep me out, ChatGPT. Exactly. Don't creep me out. Oh, God. Anyway. There's tax differences, of course, because you don't pay. Actually, I'm trying to remember with Puerto Rico, do you not pay federal taxes if you live in Puerto Rico? I think so, right? I think so, which is pretty wild. I mean, that's insane, actually. I wish I knew that years ago. I'm like, Because that would be huge, you know. Nothing going on with me in Greece. What do you mean? I mean, I've got my citizenship, so that's done. Just waiting for my passport, which should come in the next month or so. And then, who knows? Then we see. I don't think Puerto Rican, somebody help me out here. I don't think Puerto Ricans pay U.S. federal taxes. I think that was the thing we discovered recently that I was like, holy cow, because some like rich movie star types moved there. Am I right that Puerto Ricans don't pay U.S. federal taxes? So like if I move to Puerto Rico, I don't have to pay U.S. taxes?
It's partly true, but there's a nuance. Puerto Ricans don't pay U.S. federal income tax on income earned in Puerto Rico. But if you earn income from the mainland or certain federal sources, that might still be taxed. Also, if you move there, you have to meet residency and sourcing rules to benefit from that exemption. So it's not quite a blanket tax-free escape.
But what about like, okay, what I do for a living, I make money from TikTok, I make money from YouTube, that kind of stuff. Would that be considered not making money in Puerto Rico so the U.S. government would tax me?
Yes, exactly. Income from platforms like TikTok or YouTube would typically be considered U.S.-sourced income if the business operations or entities paying you are U.S.-based. In that case, even if you live in Puerto Rico, you'd still owe U.S. federal income tax on that portion. So it's not a complete tax break for that kind of work.
That's obnoxious. Okay. Huh. And what about, okay, but what about if you're retired? So you're saying Social Security probably is taxed, but but my IRA and my 401k, where does it exist?
In general, Social Security benefits aren't taxed by the federal government if you only have Puerto Rico-sourced income. As for your IRA or 401k, it depends. If it's U.S.-based, distributions are still federally taxable. So retirement accounts.
Well, are there any Puerto Rico-based IRAs?
Yes, Puerto Rico does have its own qualified retirement plans, often similar to IRAs or 401ks, but governed by Puerto Rico tax law.
Oh.
If your retirement income is sourced from a Puerto Rico-based plan, it could be taxed differently.
Interesting. Okay, so it's not as good as I thought. Not as good as I thought. All right. So you got to basically move there, and your income still has to be considered Puerto Rican-based, which is not necessarily, you know. Do you get to vote? Not in. I don't think so. I always forget, like we were asking about this, I forget how it works for federal, but for state, well, I don't remember. I'm forgetting how it works again. Well, you can't claim, if you're trying to say you're a Puerto Rican resident, then you can't claim you're a resident of a U.S. state, because you can't claim both. Right? EU made simple, that's interesting. I'll open it to, if it's long, we'll see. Hopefully it's not a long video. I don't like long videos. I did not see it. There was an article from The Atlantic the other day on the Ayatollah. I did not see it. Debaucherous. What was it about? I don't know. I mean, about the Ayatollah, but you know what I mean. What was the gist of the article? I didn't even hear about it. No. Alexa, raise the temperature 1 degree. Although we are hitting the end of the show here. Dubai. I think I'd hate Dubai. I've never been, but I think I would hate it. I don't think I would like Dubai. I don't think so. Puerto Rico has a non-voting delegate in the House. That's what I thought. So you can vote for that, but you can't vote for president, right? Or can you? In Puerto Rico, I don't think you can. But to pay no taxes, although that wouldn't happen. Again, if I were there, they'd tax me anyway. Thank you, Leon. Right? They would tax me anyway, so what do you do? So I don't know. Anyway, all right. I'm going to go, guys. We're already at 7:18, so we are done. I need to go and buy some saline for my eyes if I can find any at the store. Hopefully I can. Anyway, all right, guys. Pay a contribution for what? For what? I don't know what you're referring to, kind-hearted. I have no idea what you're talking about. That's okay. Oh, okay. Don't know. All right. Anyway, all right. I know. I think I did. The thing is, I could have done something in my sleep without realizing. I think at worst, exactly, I may have just done a little abrasion, which will get better. I mean, it's not red or anything, so it'll just get better. I just want to make sure there isn't anything in there. So I want to get some saline just to be safe, you know? So we'll see. I'm not going to make saline. I already Googled it. It's considered horrific to make your own saline. Yeah, huge warnings about making your own saline for your eyes. Huge warnings. I Googled it and went, "Ah." People cause all sorts of damage to no. I'm gonna buy some damn saline, and what do you do? It is what it is. But rinse my eye and maybe see if it. Otherwise it got scratched somehow, and what do you do? You know, I mean, can't help myself. What do you do? All right, I'm going to sign off, guys. So I will see you tomorrow, 6 o'clock Eastern. Discord, you're first. See you guys. Thank you. YouTube, Substack, etc. You're next. Good night, good night, good night.